Hello, welcome to Mike's Mets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pashota. Happy Sunday to you. And we got some news this morning that was nice bit of news. It's not the type of wow, that's incredible. So glad they got that person type of signing. But we were awoken this morning to the news that the Mets had come to a 2-year deal with starting pitcher slash relief pitcher Sean Manaea. And I'm not totally sure if I'm saying that right. Might be Manaea. Honestly, I'm gonna say Manaea now just for make it easier on myself. But Manaea was most recently pitching for the San Francisco Giants, starting and pitching in out of the bullpen for them. But he comes to the Mets after a pretty long career. He's now pitched over, I think, 1,000 innings pitched. Yep, just over 1,000 innings, and has mostly been seen on the West Coast. He pitched for Oakland for the majority of his career. Ended up in San Diego in 2022. The Padres had signed him as a free agent under the expectation that bringing him in was going to be sort of this move to help uh, solidify their playoff contention. Ultimately, that didn't go anywhere. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to take that back. The Padres didn't sign him. He was later signed the following year by the San Francisco Giants. Got my teams mixed up. So he was traded by the Athletics to the Padres in 2021, or actually before the start of the 2022 season, and then was granted free agency and then signed as a free agent by the San Francisco Giants. So the last 2 years with the Padres and Giants, these are two new teams that he's been pitching for. The number is not spectacular. He has not had a great run of it the last 2 years. He is 15-15 with a 4.73 ERA. As I mentioned, he's been pitching at the bullpen for the Giants. The reason for that was he was not doing particularly well as a starter, and they were using him more as a late inning option. Sometimes it is spot starts here and there. Sometimes it's just long relief mop up jobs, and they're kind of using him as a jack of all trades, which is not a bad thing to be flexible, and I think Manaea has certainly shown that he can be. But he was given the option to opt out of free agency. He did. He made that decision. Clearly, it wasn't really working for him in San Francisco. So he opts out. He signs a 2-year deal for $28 million with the Mets. This includes an opt out clause after the 2024 season, so he can opt out. And before you say that this is the type of move that, okay, look, this gives him an opportunity to really show himself off. It's essentially like a 1-year deal. He can, pitch at his premier talents. He can show off his best stuff. And if he has a great year, then he can just opt out and really cash in. Great job, right? Keep in mind, he did sign the exact same deal with the San Francisco Giants last year. So he had signed a 2-year deal with the Giants. It was not a good performance. He's kind of cashing out. Now he technically did make money this way. He got a $3 million raise in his total contract worth, but yeah, this is not really a quality addition, you could say. I will say I would prefer Manaea to really any one of the moves that the Mets were kind of like circling the drain around, just in terms of not like the premier pitchers, but like the back end starter options. So it was like this, or like you bring back David Pearson, you bring back Ty Lord, is he going to come back in here? Tyler McGill, uh, both those guys have had their shot, and I can't really say for sure if both those guys are any better. The David Pearson regression was a real like nut punch. I'm still really ticked off about how badly he pitched in 2023 and how much it really put them behind the 8 ball. Like it really screwed them. So bringing in Manea, this is a guy who's a veteran. Has had a lot of success. I mean, I've only mentioned the last 2 years with San Diego and San Francisco, but his years in Oakland were very successful for the most part. He saw his like best pitching performance come in 2021. He went 11-10 that year, 3.91 ERA. Was generally considered quality pitcher. Led the league in shutouts that season. Had 194 strikeouts, 179 innings pitched. Just really hasn't been there for him in terms of his ability to stay healthy. Prior to that, he would had some injury issues. Making a full like 30 start season, it's generally not in the cards with Mania. He just has various health problems that hasn't really affected him that much. His only real disaster was in 2019. He got hurt 5 games into the season, and it was unfortunate because he was having a great stretch and up to that point. And then came back, looked like good. He was potential trade bait. The Athletics were putting him in as this potential trade option. His name was floated around in various circles. The Mets were inquiring about him on several occasions when they were looking to potentially trade for a starting pitcher. And that he was on the radar of like the New York Yankees during the middle of their run last year, and it's just his name was been floated around as a lot, and the Mets have been certainly thinking about adding Manaea for some time. Finally pulled the trigger and they acquire him. I mentioned his struggles, but he actually is a quality pitcher. It's just a matter of him sort of finding the delicate line of making sure not to walk too many guys, not to give too many home runs. It's something that he can struggle with. The home run ball was particularly bad for him in 2022 while pitching for the Padres. And the Padres not known for their like pitchers who give up a lot of home runs, but he got shelled. He got 29 home runs at 158 innings pitched last year. Not last year, 2022. And it was the worst mark of his career. These periods, these stretches where he can get into struggling with that. He's not really a guy who can walk that many guys. I mentioned the walk thing being a problem with him, and it was last year. However, he did show an impressive strikeout rate. He had a career high 9.8 per strikeout per 9 innings ratio last year, which was, as mentioned, a career best. 4.44 ERA, but he has a 3.90 FIP in 2023. So clearly there was some bad luck involved here. The Giants weren't really doing that much for their starting pitchers, just in terms of their overall play. So you have to imagine that there was a certain amount of bad luck being involved with Manea's pitching. I think he's certainly a very solid back at the rotation starter, a guy who can give you good performances, and if he can kind of like improve on the things that he was struggling with last year, at the very worst, he's a four starter. They really needed someone to kind of complement that rotation, to put him in with that group. I think now they have a pretty competent like first four with Senga, the recent addition of Adrian Hauser, and then why am I blanking on his name? And why is it wrong with me? Why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? I always blank on him, and I've got a cat behind me, so Jose Quintana. That's what I was thinking of. Sorry. So Quintana, giving Senga are your first two starters as it stands right now, and then you throw in. It's probably going to be some combination of Manaea, Hauser, and might be Joey Lucchesi. It might be Steve Pearson. It might be Tyler McGill. That's how it stands right now. The Mets could potentially be looking for another starting pitcher. The word is that the Mets are trying to find another ace like caliber level pitcher, whether it's bringing in someone like Blake Snell or signing over in Japan, the left-hander Yamada. I was gonna say Yamato, but that's not correct either. It's really early here, so I'm like struggling to like stay up here. Um, you don't know what I'm talking about. The name will come to me in a second, but he's someone else. Shoto Imanaga, that's what I was thinking of. He's the other one that's also been name's been being floated, and it's entirely possible that the Mets could still go after Imanaga. I could see it happening. Another major addition that they could make would be a trade. They've been linked to rumors involving the Chicago White Sox eighth starter Dylan Cease. Cease had a bad year last year, but in 2022 was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Um, could be a quality addition to that starting rotation. That could give them a good pitcher to pair with Senga at the top of the rotation, and would be sort of the boost that the Mets really are looking for at this point. They really need pitching help. That's been one of the things that David Hurt's been really focusing on thus far this year. I think he can be a little bit more vigorous in terms of his free agent pursuits. Uh, I know there's a lot of Met fans that are getting very restless. The Mets haven't really made any kind of splash. If you're expecting that kind of offseason where the Mets were going after Justin Verlander and ex-Met players last year, it's just not going to happen. I think their pursuits are going to be are solely focused on trying to come to a deal with Pete Alonso and trying to shore up that offense, in particular looking for a DH who can really help that lineup. So we'll see how that goes. Still remains to be seen if the Mets are done. I think they still probably have like four moves left in them, just in terms of really filling out this 2024 squad. And as it stands now, they have a decent, not great team. This is a team that might win 79 games, maybe 80 if they're lucky. It depends on really some surprisingly good performances from some of their pitchers to really kind of like round that out. And I wouldn't rule out a wild card spot at this point, but it doesn't seem likely that they can contend with the Braves or the Phillies. And it might even be hard for them to contend with the Marlins at this point with this the roster as it is right now. It's kind of a work in progress and still a lot to do. I don't think they're done by any stretch, but they adding someone like Sean Manaea, a solid signing. I feel as good about it as they did signing Harrison Bader. It's just something that kind of rounds them out. It gives them a veteran who has plenty of experience, and you kind of know their level of ability. So I don't really have anything else to say about it other than that. I feel like they have a good mentality. Is what they want to do. But in terms of splashy moves, this one certainly is not, but a quality addition. Thank you for listening to Mike's Mets podcast. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Finally, please also follow the podcast Twitter, which is Mike's Mets Pod, all one word. Appreciate your time and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. Let's go, Mets.